Hello, this is my open house video, and I want to welcome you. I wish we could be able to do the traditional open house, and unfortunately, as with many things this year, it's just got to be different. So I just want to introduce myself. My name is Andrea Tok. I'll be teaching your son or daughter anatomy and physiology this year, and I'm super excited. My expertise and forte is in the medical sciences. That's always been my passion from the time I was a very young child. I thought I was going to be a doctor, and I wanted to be a brain surgeon, and I wanted to be an athletic trainer and a physical therapist. And so I've always loved medicine. So I am super excited to be able to teach anatomy and physiology and sports medicine this year. I might even have your child in both classes. We don't have our class schedules at this time, so I'm not sure who I have in what class, but I know that I will be teaching your son or daughter this year. Um, so I put together a little slideshow of what I guess I normally would talk about. The first thing I would do is introduce myself, and let me see if I don't know if I can get myself down out of the way a little bit. Yeah, there, that's perfect. So this is just a little slide about me. What I like to do outside of school. I do have two kids, so there's the pictures of my two kids. They're both in West Claremont High School. My daughter Cameron is a junior this year, and my son Tyler is a senior. And both of them do play sports. Cameron plays softball, and Tyler plays football. So my favorite thing to do really is watch them play their sports. In my spare time, I love to hike at the nature center. That's probably my favorite thing to do on my own or with friends, and I volunteer there when I can. So you might even see me possibly if you go to the nature center roaming around on the trails. So I like to do that. I also help weed the pollinator garden. I did that all summer, but now that school's back, I won't be able to do that as much. I love to watch time. I'm going to share this with your students too. So it's kind of the same slide, but I do love to watch time period shows. I just finished Poldark. Highly recommend if you like that on Amazon Prime. And I just started Victoria. So I like stuff like that. I love to play on my phone in my spare time, as probably a lot of you do, and I'm on there way too much. But I did discover a design app that I'm kind of addicted to, Facebook, and I love the BidFTA, the site where you do your online bidding. I spend a lot of time on that too. So that's just a little bit about me and stuff I do in my spare time. My husband, Jihan Tok, he teaches at Claremont Northeastern High School, and both of us have been teachers now for. My husband's been teaching 17 years, and this is my. I'm going. I'm 19 years. It's like, how old are you? I'm getting so old. I don't know how many years I've been teaching. Sometimes I don't know how old I am either. Um, so yeah, so we've been married and we have our two kids here. A little bit about my education background. I am a graduate of Glenesty High School. I just noticed that didn't show up in white. I graduated in 1996 from Glenesty, and then I went to the University of Cincinnati. I went to Claremont and what's now called Blue Ash campus. I went to both of those, but I got an Associate of Arts there and transferred to Northern Kentucky University, where I got my Bachelor of Science degree, and then I finished up with a Master of Arts in Teaching in 2005 from Graceland University. And then I do have 34 additional graduate hours that I've accumulated through the teaching years. I've got lots and lots of hours in various things. So that's a little about me. Let's see what's next here on my slideshow. Doesn't want to do a next. Oh, there we go. I've got pictures here. Here we go. So I took this picture from my door. So like if you were standing in my door, looking in my door, this is what the classroom setup kind of looks like, at least as of today. So who knows if someone's going to come in and change it. We did get to arrange it. Normally I like to have table groups, but because of the COVID and the social distancing, the students all have to be spaced out. So they're 3 feet apart. The way this is here, they're going to be 3 feet apart, and all facing kind of the same direction. So hopefully that will eliminate the transfer of germs. And lots of sanitizer. I mean, here's some hand sanitizer. We'll be cleaning the desks between every class period with sanitizing solution. And so it'll be way more sterile than it ever has been in here. Hopefully that'll cut down on any and every possible germ that maybe we would have come in contact with this year. So maybe that's a good thing. One thing I'll point out to you is the skeleton here. I call her Fran. It's a female skeleton. And we have had this in our possession. It was at Glen Estee High School when I taught there, but it was there even when I was a student there. And that's a real skeleton. So that's one thing that students usually are fascinated by. And it is really fascinating. And I know she's missing a leg here and some bones. And we do have her other bones. They have just, the hardware has broken down. And honestly, she's been in the possession of our district for so long. I have no idea where we even obtained her from. I would assume probably donated from a college or university, but I mean, that might have been donated even in the 60s or the 70s. So I don't have the story, but I just have her in my room. So it's a kind of a cool feature that I have. Just some other pictures of my classroom. Here's that door that I was standing in. So I just kind of came in and took a picture of what this side of the room looks like. From a student's seat in the room, you can see that we have smart boards here with projectors. That's pretty common now. That I think that's in every West Claremont classroom, so that'll be on all the time pretty much. And my classroom rules bulletin board there. Anyway, those are just some pictures of what the classroom looks like this year. And when the students come in my room, they're going to see this on the screen. This is we have what's called an instructional framework that all of our lessons in the building are supposed to follow. And so this is the instructional framework, and this is what will be on the board. So we have this WOLF framework, WOLF. So the beginning of the class is the welcome, and that is their bell work time. So they will come in and they will have something to do right away. So they will get started right away. And this is kind of my tentative plan for the first day of school, and it may change, but they will be getting assigned seats in every classroom. That's for the whole contact tracing, although I have always done assigned seats. We'll do some sort of an icebreaker activity. We'll be spending a lot of time the first week of school on getting to know our students and get reconnected and reacquainted with each other, and looking forward to that. This O is the own it part. That's our learning target. What is it that we're trying to teach, and what is it we want students to know? So this IWBT, what does that stand for? That means I will be able to. So this is from the student's perspective. So what do I want the students to be able to do? I want them to be able to explain what is expected in the anatomy classroom and become familiar with the class syllabus. That's kind of what we're looking at for the first day. So every day, this might change slightly as we progress through curriculum and material, but this first week of school is going to be pretty much focused on just kind of like easing into the course, getting familiar with the course itself, the classroom expectations, the student-to-student interaction, developing that sense of community in the classroom. So we'll be doing a lot of that this coming week, technology that we'll be using in the classroom. The L is for the learning plan. So this is just kind of like, what are we doing? The students come in, what are we doing today? So I learned a long time ago to put that on the board. So I've always had that on the board, even before smart boards. What are we doing today? Because you don't want to hear that 25 times. You don't want to have 25 students coming in, hi, what are we doing today? So I've always had this on the board. So this is the plan. So of course, the first day of school, we will go over the syllabus. I'm going to go over that with you if you're watching this video, and we'll talk through any questions that they have. We'll go through the classroom expectations together. We'll talk through any questions that they have there. I usually have homework posted down here. So the biggest thing for this current week of starting school would be for them to get their class materials. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. And then lastly, we are supposed to end our lesson with a finish strong. So some ending, closing to the lesson. So I'll be having them talk to someone nearby, 3 feet distance and spaced, but with their masks on. But they will, I'm just going to have them communicate with a nearby partner, something they're looking forward to. So this is just a sample kind of piece of what the framework looks like. So all of our lessons kind of have this framework, and this is what will be on the screen every day. Now, the thing I have changed for this year is this will be posted on Schoology every week. I'm calling this the anatomy playbook. And so each week in the Schoology folder, this will be, each day will be posted. And that way, if for some reason your child does get sick for any reason, hopefully not with COVID, but say they end up having to be quarantined for contact tracing, or they have a doctor's appointment somewhere or a dentist's appointment, um, this will always be up on Schoology. So even if they weren't in the physical classroom, they can still see the learning, kind of the learning plan of the day. They can see what the bell work was. They'll be expected to complete the bell work and to do the lesson that they missed when they're at home to the best of their ability. Okay, so that is that. Um, let's see. I think that is the end of the slideshow as far as just things I wanted to show you that way. Next, I want to get into, so bear with me, I'm going to bring this up. This is the syllabus, and I'm going to just not read all of this to you because that would be boring, and your child will be coming home with a copy of this. I'm just going to hit some highlights. So this is what the anatomy syllabus looks like. We are doing Remind this year. We're using Remind, so we're using it with our parents and our students. Now, parents will already kind of have you're all going to be set up. There's nothing fancy that you have to do. So it's pulling information from, I think, InfoSnap. So you could possibly get a text message from me this year if there was something I needed to get in touch with parents about. I really like that myself because I prefer text messaging now over phone calls, and maybe you do too. I'm probably will try to hit remind and then send a text out for you. If we need to talk, certainly I could call or you can call. The students will be signing up for the Remind app in my classroom. That way we can communicate also the same thing. Like I can send them a text, they can send me a text, but it keeps our phone numbers private and it's going through this Remind third party. So it's just I'll be trying to get a hold of the students through Schoology first, but say I can't get a hold of a student through Schoology, I could try it. This is just another way I can reach out. I am not going to send a message out every day. I promise you that. I would only send messages out kind of as needed, or maybe if there was like a big test coming up or something I wanted to let you all know about. So I'm not going to be doing a daily remind because I just don't want you guys to get overwhelmed. Sometimes I get overwhelmed. It's like I get 13 messages a day. I don't want that from every teacher. So I'll respect that and assume that you feel like I do. A little bit about anatomy and physiology. It is going to be taught at like a college prep level. I will tell you that anatomy and physiology is probably the most difficult, one of the most difficult classes that I have taken myself as a student, and that is because there is so much to memorize. So we will be breaking things up in chunks as much as we can, but I'm just saying that it is a lot to memorize, and we are teaching it. And when I say we, I should say that Mr. Grippa and I are both teaching anatomy and physiology. We both have 2 sections, and we are collaborating together. So we are moving through things at the same pace. We are sharing resources, especially as we are trying to digitize as much as possible in case we do go into a pivot and we have to do a remote learning or something. We're really trying to work together to digitize our lessons. So I will say we a lot, and I'm referring to Mr. Grippa. But I just want to say that this is a course that will require studying. It will require attention to details. It will require asking questions if students don't understand something. It's not necessarily an easy course, but that being said, it was my favorite course in high school. It is why I went in. I just wanted to continue forward in the medical field. And I did continue forward in the medical field. I was pre-physical therapy, and I worked in a physical therapy setting. And I ended up switching my major to secondary education. I just felt a calling. The only thing I can tell you is that with a Christian background, I really felt a calling, and I feel like it's a ministry to be here. And so I felt called away from working in a physical therapy setting to teaching high school biology and anatomy, and I just couldn't be happier. I absolutely love my job. But that was my favorite course in high school. I really loved it. Lots to memorize, but you just, when you really learn it, you just feel like a genius. You just feel like you could go operate on somebody if you needed to. I don't know. Here are the topics, and again, I don't want to just read those to you, but these are the different topics we'll be covering in semester 1 and 2. I did put dissection. We do dissections. Typically, we do dissections in the anatomy and physiology course. This is a different year. We have to be concerned about they really can't work closely together. So we might be looking at a blend of some dissections for some students maybe that want to do them on their own. We're going to look at that as an option versus some students that would prefer to do an online dissection. So we're still working this out, but we typically do dissections. I prefer to do fetal pigs. Um, my counterpart, Mr. Grippa, prefers to do cats. Being that this is just a very uncertain year, we have not ordered anything yet. We're kind of just waiting to see how kind of things go for a little while. But we don't get into dissection till the end of the toward the middle of the second quarter, maybe middle to end of the second quarter, we might get into that. And then it's really heavy in semester two. And with luck, fingers crossed, maybe things will be a little bit more normal. I don't know. I hope so. Um, Grading is here. I do a point system, but it's on Schoology, so things are worth X amount of points. You know, your student earns 90 out of 100 points. The points add up, all of the points that they earn, and divided by total number of points. And Schoology calculates all of that. Now, materials that they need. I'm not doing a binder check. I have in years past. I'm not doing that because it's too hard to try to do a binder check with remote learning possibilities. I don't even want to open that can of worms. I like for students to have a binder and tabs because I just think that that is a very good way of organizing information. I would do it by unit. I would have tabs for each of these units, and then everything that I give them, I would put in there. However, if your child would like to have a notebook and a folder, there will be some handouts. I know some teachers this year are going paperless. I'm not going paperless unless somebody tells me I have to go paperless. So I believe students are going to need to write things down, and then certainly writing is very important, I think. So I plan to give some handouts and some things for students to do. But I would recommend that they keep all of that in either a binder or, if they would prefer, a folder. But that way we have materials that we can look back over so we can prepare and study for a test. Also, as you know, we're going to be doing more online activities this year, and that's just the way it's been going anyway. We continuously embed more and more technology into our lessons. So I would prefer, if they do have earphones or earbuds, probably to bring those for all classes. That way they don't have to have the volume up loud or something in the classroom. 20 computers in different places with different volumes going on. There's going to be no sharing of materials. So where before I had like a bin of scissors and a bin of markers, we can't do that. We would have to sanitize every scissors and markers all day long, and we just can't do that. So it is very, very important that you obtain some supplies. I am going to try to purchase extra supplies for students that have a problem. If you have some hardships, I'm going to try to get some for those students, but I would for sure try to get some markers, colored pencils, probably colored pencils even over markers, but both would be good because I still want to do some projecty kinds of things where they can create things. That students need to do that. So where I used to have marker bins on my tables, I can't do that now. So you have to have your own markers, your own colored pencils and pens, pencils, scissors, maybe even a glue stick might be used at some times if we are making something. So we can't share materials. So you need to get the old pencil pouch and fill it back up again if you haven't done that in a while. Masks now are part of the materials, and of course you know that you have to have a mask to be in the classroom and be at school. Nobody wants to do that. I don't like it, but here we are. That's the way it goes. So unless there's some medical exemption or something, you need to have a mask every day. You are not permitted to wear it down around your chin. In the classroom, we just have to follow the rules. So when we're in the classroom, because we are kind of still maybe 3 feet, some people might be able to get 6 feet away, but with the 3 feet, even with facing the same directions, we have to have masks on. Also make sure you bring water with you to school because the water fountains are turned off, so you'll have to bring your own water bottle there. Now, here are some of my classroom policies and expectations. Restroom policy. Students will get 4 what I call emergency restroom passes. It could be an emergency anything pass really, but the main thing is restroom passes. It cannot be a revolving door of students. And if you start to have a policy where it's like a revolving door, then your classroom becomes a revolving door. People are constantly coming and going. So I allow them to go 4 times during the quarter, and I used to only let them go 2 times, but I don't know what the situation is going to be here. It's going to be a little different with the, the pandemic, and so I'm upping that to 4 times, but I keep track of that. So if they need to use the restroom, I just keep track of that on a roster so I know how many times they have gone and left the room. And if they don't use the restroom passes, then basically I'm kind of buying them back at the end of the quarter for a little extra credit. So there's a little incentive there to stay in the room. You get a little extra credit if you can stay in the room. There is a 10-10 rule here, so students will not be permitted to go to the restroom or leave the class during the first or the last 10 minutes of class, because that's our bell work time when we're trying to get, let's get the framework going, let's know what the lesson is, let's get engaged. We have a shorter class time. Our bell schedule is the same, but we have to clean desks now, and there's a staggered release. So actually our lessons are 10 minutes shorter. And so them being in here at the beginning of the bell especially is really, really important. And then they have to be in here at the end of the bell for the cleaning and the staggered dismissal. So if they do need to use the restroom, it'll have to be in that like a 30-minute window of time, I guess, kind of maybe while they're working on something. They are going to let students eat in the building this year more so than in years past because of the 6 lunches. So they realize that students might need to refuel sometime during the day, so there will be increased vending machines. However, this is a science classroom, and you're like by OSHA laws and stuff, we have inspectors and health inspectors that come in. There's not supposed to be any food in the science classroom. This is a science lab, considered science lab classroom. So I don't mind if students need to have a snack or something, especially if like our sugar's low or something. I'm just going to ask them to step out in the hall if they need to have a quick bite. So we can't just sit in here and get like our lunch bag out and start eating a sandwich. That's not going to work. But if they need something like quick bite or something to kind of help sustain low blood sugar, I get it. I have low blood sugar myself. They'll just need to step out in the hallway and eat out there. Cell phone policy is huge. It's like impossible to teach if kids are on their phones. They're not paying attention to you. They miss important information. I'm sure you all understand, because I understand that. I miss important information myself if I have my phone on me and I go to a meeting and I find myself sometimes like checking my email while someone is presenting. And I know I probably shouldn't be doing that, but it's kind of just human nature at this point. We're just very, very connected to our phones, and it's like the need to know what's going on at all times. You can understand in a classroom setting when we're trying to teach information, or we're supposed to be like focused on learning something, that cell phones are a huge distraction. I normally have asked students to put them in a cell phone cubby or a cell phone caddy before they sit down, but I'm not going to do that with the COVID this year because I don't want a log jam of people around that. So this year I'm going to have them have their phones out and placed face down on their desks in front of them, or they may put them in a place in the room like on a lab counter if we're not using the lab counters, if they're worried about them being away. I do want them out and visible so that I know they're not in their pockets. I know it's shocking, but I mean, this looks like it's sneaky, but it's not. So I see that all the time. It's much better if they take the phone and put it down here in front of them and leave it alone. So Mr. Grippa and I are both adopting that same policy. There are consequences for students who cannot follow those rules, and they are listed there. Late work, I do 1 time half credit. I do 1 time half credit. I document that. So things need to be turned in on time. I'm not talking about for excused absences. I'm talking about people that are here and there's not some issue going on. If I assign some crossword puzzle, just for example, I can't have Sally always turning in the crossword puzzle a day or 2 later than everybody else because, well, there's a lot of reasons for that. So I am going to try as much as possible to have everything digitized and on Schoology as much as possible this year. So if there is something that I could not, for some reason, get it to work out on Schoology, the paper copies would be available should we stay in school and everything's like it is. These are the class rules that are posted on my bulletin board. So, following directions, listen carefully, raise hand to speak, stay in your seat. That's going to be really big. They cannot be popping up out of their seats this year and running over and talking to their friends. They have to stay 3 feet apart. I don't know how this is all going to go, but we've got to instill that into them. So, that's going to be more important than ever. Be respectful to the teacher, be respectful to each other. So that includes no profanity. So I don't even care if they're talking to their friends and then they're letting, the F words slip out of their mouth. They're going to be, verbal warning and then disciplined at, progressive discipline. So no profanity in the classroom, no bullying or anything like that. And then if they do need to use their cell phone for some reason, I mean, certainly there are reasons like my grandpa's in the hospital or just some, important reason, then I'm going to just say they need to ask permission. And again, that would be like, you need to step out in the hallway, just like if you need to eat, you can step out in the hallway and be quick about it. So that's basically the syllabus. If you have questions, reach out to me. But that kind of wraps up the open house of anatomy and physiology. So I'm looking forward to a great year.